Expressions are something a lot of artists, including myself, struggle with a lot. And college didn't really help me with this at all. In fact, no art class I've ever taken has helped me with expressions. They didn't even go over it. So I'm gonna help you. I mentioned the jelly art style in my last video, but it's not the only style that doesn't involve a lot of expression. Depending on why you're making art, expressions may not be that important to you, but it's definitely important if you're trying to tell a story, or just want your characters to look more interesting. Now, I already talked about heads, but I want to briefly cover them again, specifically how to utilize the box and mask in a variety of styles, since your art style is going to impact the way that your expressions look, and also because my video on heads was a little messy. So like I said before, I like to draw the skull as a box. This is normally where you would draw a circle, but I find that making it a box makes it more three-dimensional. Then you have the mask. That is so messy. And this is where the face goes. The guidelines for the location of the nose and eyes and mouth can be changed depending on your style, but I showed how they're normally spaced in my other video. For this video though, I want to show how this can be used to draw faces in different styles. So this one has more realistic proportions, I'd say, kind of like what I was doing in the last video. The facial features pretty much line up with the guidelines. Well, not right here. Whatever. Then you have this one. You can see that the face size is like completely different, but I think that this helps understand how the face structure should be. You can see the line right here on the box can help you determine where the jawline should be, where it transitions from this into the ear. And then I usually use this line right here to indicate the top of the eye. You could also add an extra guideline for where the eyebrow should be. I usually don't personally. And you can see I didn't really make these faces exactly the same. The guidelines themselves I made kind of messy and they're not really proportionate to each other. I should have tried a little harder for that, but I just wanted to use it as a quick example. And then you have these faces. If you look at this guideline right here that cuts through the eyes, you can see that it's a lot lower than the one on here. This one goes more through the center of the head. This one's more like a third of the way down. And it still does kind of show where the top of the eye starts and then the bottom of the eye. This style is a lot more simplified, so I don't even include the mask part. I just let the square be the whole head. Then you have this one, which is even more simplified, and then just straight up a box head. The reason I'm showing this is just to show how this box can be useful for a lot more styles than just a realistic head or an anime styled head. You can use it for literally anything. It could be like a really cartoony style. You could literally draw like Minecraft characters or something. I don't know. Now, moving on to expressions. I think it's important to understand squash and stretch. Think of those bouncy ball test animation things. When the ball hits the ground, it squashes. When it bounces back up, it stretches. This exaggerates the motion and makes it look less stiff. You can use this to exaggerate expressions too. I'd say squash is linked more to negative emotions like sadness and anger, while stretch is linked to more positive emotions like happiness and surprise, which could actually be positive or negative. Here I have a range of emotions with neutral in the center and both ends of the list showing more exaggerated versions of happiness and anger. You can see how the more dramatic the emotion, the more scrunched or stretched the face becomes. This is especially obvious for anger because not only do the facial features get closer and more squished, but wrinkles start showing up as well since the skin is being drawn into a specific spot on the face. I'd say the most tension is right here, and you can see everything's kind of being drawn in to this location right here in the center of the face. The eyebrows are going towards it. Even the eye angle is changing to point more towards the center. I bring the nose up a little so it's also getting closer to the center. These wrinkles, that's a lot more exaggerated than the way I drew it, but you can really exaggerate these. You can see that the opposite happens with the happy face. The eyebrows are turned up even more and even higher up on the face, and her smile gets bigger and stretches her face more. This is something I normally forget. When our mouths open, they don't move independent of our facial structure. Our jaws move with our mouth, which means the jaw should move down when the mouth opens. The opening and closing of your mouth, as far as I can tell, is just the up and down motion of your jaw. You can also see that her eyes, rather than stretching, they actually scrunch up a tiny bit. I could have probably made this more dramatic, but when you smile, your cheeks turn up along with the corners of your mouth, and that causes your eyes to squint a bit. Especially the bottom lid. I think bringing that bottom lid up a bit can make a smile look way more genuine. You could also add some wrinkles to the face as well, like around the corners of the mouth or under the eye to exaggerate those key points. Now, happiness and anger are not the only expressions that exist, and some more complicated expressions might be better conveyed by combining some of these things. When you see these eyebrows, what emotion do you think of? Probably sadness. But what if the character's smiling? Well, now she looks a little crazy. And maybe a little worried. Maybe she's trying to convince someone of something. And what about here? She looks really mad, right? But if you give her a smile, now instead of looking like she's angry at someone, she looks like she probably just got away with something devious. You could even change something like the size of the eyes. Making them smaller can make them look more deranged or scared. You could also add things like sweat droplets or maybe some shadows around the face. Meanwhile, bigger, more round eyes with highlights or blush can make a character look more innocent. Stuff like this can help a lot with getting different emotions across and adding more character to your drawings. Anyways, I think that this was helpful, but the most helpful thing would be putting this advice to good use and actually trying it for yourself until you get the hang of it. So, go draw, drink some water, stretch, and subscribe with notifications on so you'll know when I have more advice to share. Bye!
You are facing like fucking hell. You are facing hell in my car. I'm facing a fucking moron. Get out! No! You're facing hell! You have no right to scream at me.